Who pays the commission in a real estate transaction? Let's get into it. All right, Catherine, I have a little story for you, and then
Okay.
I have a question for you.
Okay.
I got a call the other day, someone I didn't know,
Okay.
and they're thinking about selling their house, and they simply asked me, "Hey, I heard that I no longer have to pay a buyer's commission. Is that true?"
No, not necessarily.
So I answered, and I said, "Well, no, you don't have to pay one, but that's not changed. That's always been the case."
Good answer.
And he kind of said, "Well, what do you mean? I'm hearing all over the news that this is all brand new." And I said, "Well, that's always been the case. Actually, in our rules, you have to. There's a very small fee you had to do. But what's changed is we're no longer now able to publicize it in the MLS. That's the change.
Right, and the only ones that saw the multiple listing service was
We're
agents.
agents, right? So here's my question:
Okay.
as a seller, should you offer a commission to the buyer's agent in a transaction? An offer meaning expect to pay one, want to pay one, tell your agent, I'll look at every offer and decide what I'm going to do. Should you do that as a seller?
As a seller, if you don't agree to pay a buyer's agent something, because that's negotiable, right? Sure. If you don't agree to pay it, then your pool of viewers to your home is shrinking.
Yeah. I see it completely as a marketing issue.
Yeah.
And we know that the way to get the highest amount for your home the fastest is to not answer your phone when you're doing a video, is to expose it to the most amount of people.
Absolutely.
So let me ask you something, and we'll come back to this.
Okay.
When you bought your last house, did you write a check to your buyer's agent?
I was my buyer's agent.
Did you write a check
Yes.
to your buyer's agent?
No, because most people can't afford to do that.
Could you have afforded to buy that house?
I could have.
You could have.
I could have.
Okay. Would you have looked at the price differently if you let's say I was your buyer's agent, or no, let's say my son was your buyer's agent because you like him better.
I do.
Would you have looked at, knowing that you were going to have to pay him completely out of your pocket, would you have looked at the price of that home differently?
So he and I are going to think different about this because there's a yes and no to that.
Okay.
If I have the means to pay someone to provide a service for me, and I am absolutely positively in love with that house, I'm going to do everything I can.
Okay.
Okay. That's not always the case, but I personally would, and I think there's people out there that would. But this whole thing with paying the commission to the buyer's agent goes a little deeper than that. It's one of those things to me that with our laws changing, which they are, and I'm going to tell you, John and I both have wrapped our head around it. We're not afraid of it. We're not worried about it. But the conversation with the seller when we take a listing needs to talk about that. We need to let them know that it is negotiable based on what kind of offer we get, right?
Sure.
I mean, because it's about the bottom line for a seller. And so we need to know that we've got to have that big conversation about commission and money, which nobody likes to do, right up front.
And I think as we get, especially multiple offers, if you're comparing two offers, it's the whole gambit of price. What are you asking them to pay? What are you paying? What about this commission issue for the buyer's agent? And it's a whole conglomerate of things, and sellers care about what they net.
So let me ask you a question now.
Okay.
You've got multiple offers on the board, okay? And I'm the buyer's agent for one of them, okay? So I call you and I ask you, John, do you have multiple offers? What are you going to tell me?
Yes.
Okay, because we have to, right? Can you tell me what those offers are?
Maybe.
Maybe, depending on if the seller agrees to it or not. What if I ask you, John, hey, look, I've got a buyer that cannot afford. You know, a lot of times people barely have the closing cost and the down payment, right? We've all been there. And I have a buyer, and we don't have she doesn't have extra funds to pay me, he or she, right? But I want to know of your other offers. Are they asking, what kind of commission are they asking for?
They're asking for a commission.
Again, do you see where we're going with this?
Write your best offer.
Right. See, which gives me nothing, right? However, these are either a referral for me, or it's a past client, or it's the son or daughter of another client I dealt with. And I know there's multiple offers, and I know those other agents aren't working for free.
Yeah.
Okay. So I have to dig deep within my own soul and go, I know he or she loves this place. I know this is the perfect, because sometimes as agents, once we've been in, we know if it's the perfect place for them. How am I going to get that offer accepted? Basically like what we talked about on another video.
Right.
Okay. So am I just going to go, well, I'm entitled to 2.5 or 3%. Am I going to do that? No, because I personally don't run my business with my ego, and he knows that. I'm going to do what's best for my client. So now I'm personally negotiating to help get that offer accepted. And the seller's whole deal is that bottom line at the end of the day.
Yeah. Yeah.
So, I mean, you could say it's other terms, and maybe it could be a little bit, but for me, I'm a consumer. I want to know what I'm going to get at the end of the day. And if I have 3 offers, I want net sheets showing exactly what I'm getting on each one of them.
Absolutely.
So as an agent, I think we're going to have to negotiate our commission. And sometimes we are not going to get what maybe we would have got if it had been on the multiple listing service, right up front like we used to do. But to me, that's okay, because that'll come. It always comes back when you do right by people, right?
It does. And I see it even with the same buyer. Let's say you've made 5 offers. I see each offer completely different from the other offer because of the situation of the seller, the house, how much they love it, how much they need it, all those things that go into it.
Yeah. But you talked about commission. Commission can be paid a number of ways, and he's right. It's never been set in stone. Okay. So we have a buyer's broker agreement, which comes, I think we have to start using that August 17th. And so you're going to have that come in play. And on that basically says, as I sit down with my buyer and we sign a contract, how are you willing to pay? Are you willing to pay a set amount? A flat fee, maybe it's $3,000, maybe it's $5,000, I don't know. Maybe you do something really nice for somebody that year because they don't have a lot of money. You do I call it a pro bono, right? Like you do something like that. So, and there's a percentage. But here's the thing. Anybody can pay the stinking commission, but it's in the seller's best interest to entice people to come and see their home. That's the bottom line here. So as sellers, whatever you're listening to out there, just remember, it's just the media. I'm sorry, they don't have all the facts sometimes, and that things get fabricated. If you have a question that, I will recommend that you contact let me just say this, a seasoned agent, someone who knows their business, knows Johnstone, Catherine Justice.
You saying I'm old?
We're both old, come on. So contact somebody and ask for really how that works, because we'll let you know.
And here's the thing. Like right now, a VA buyer cannot pay the commission of their buyer's broker. Yeah. Okay? So if you're going to sell to a VA person, you have to negotiate that. The buyer cannot, absolutely, it's illegal to do that. Now they're trying to work on that. So you may say, okay, well, I'm not going to sell to VA buyer. Okay, that's about 12% of the market. Yeah. Okay. FHA buyers, they're FHA, most of them, because they barely have enough money for down payment and closing. So now you're going to add an extra expense on there. Probably not going to happen. And that's in this market about 60% of our business.
That's a lot.
So now if you take out just those two, you've taken out about 72% of the market.
Yeah. So look what you're going to get to look at your house.
So now you have cash buyers left.
Yeah.
And now you have conventional with lots of money. Cash buyers, what do? They offer all cash, but they're cheap, typically.
Yeah.
So expose it to the most amount of people, offer something. Say, yes, we'll take a look at your offer and commission. That doesn't tie you to anything.
Right.
And allows you to get everybody who's interested in that home to come in, write their offers, and then you get to decide.
That's correct. But you also have to sit there and have a very serious conversation with your buyers. So if you know your buyers can't pay anything, okay, you just know that at that point, you say, it's okay. We're going to ask for the commission. We're going to ask for it, okay? But just want you to know, you may not get it on the first house or the second house or the third house. It may be a little more difficult. We're going to do our best, but we want them, I want people to be clear about what can happen.
And what houses we can do this on.
Absolutely.
In some cases.
Yeah.
And quite honestly, we may not know till we get into it.
Yeah, true. True.
But Yeah.
So it's going to be pretty interesting as we move forward with this. And I'll be honest with you, I'm kind of excited about it because it makes me, as he knows me well, as an agent that has to be thinking and doing and how can I figure this out? How can I figure that out? This is kind of cool for me.
Well, and the other side is buyers have really never been represented like a seller is.
No,
and
that's
it's
true.
time.
It's
and I
time.
think the transparency. We're going to go through some bumps. We're going to have
Yeah.
to figure this out as an industry. But I think as we all settle out, I don't think commissions will be very different at all than what we're used to.
I agree.
And I think there'll be a whole lot better representations for buyers and a lot more transparency. And sellers won't have to agree before they list their house what they're
That's
going to
true. That's
give.
true.
They can look at each offer and make that decision.
Make that decision. But the word you used was transparency.
Transparency.
And that's one thing I've said that we've lacked in our business for years.
Yeah,
And
agreed.
it's time that agents get back, start talking to each other, start figuring out how to make this stuff work, how to make it work for the buyer, how to make it work for the seller, because that's really what you guys hire us
Yeah.
to do. So
So, put in the comments who you think should pay a commission. You think it should be split? Like, subscribe, and share.
yeah.
And we'll
thanks.
talk to you next week.
Thanks, guys.